Now that we've written the code, let's manually test it out by updating our Docker setup and running the app. Let's begin with the Docker file, which defines how the Flask image should be built. The file has only one change. The run statement is a bit more complex now that we are installing some Alpine packages using the OS package manager named APK. It's comparable to yum or apt. We need to install the MariaDB development and build-based packages. The MySQL client Python package requires both, even if we aren't using MariaDB, which is a bit strange. We also need to install the required Python packages discussed in the previous clip. Everything else in this file is unchanged because, again, our Flask app is only loosely coupled with the database technology. Let's see how the Docker containers are deployed by examining the Docker Compose file next. Not surprisingly, our Flask app is deployed the same way, except now I'm calling it Web instead of CRM. It isn't the whole app anymore, it's just the web service. Then we have a DB service which uses a standard MySQL image with no modifications. We'll explore this on Docker Hub shortly. The command key indicates that we want to use a username-password pair for authentication to keep things simple. We then specify two environment variables, one for the root password and one for the name of the database to create when the container is initialized. You might remember seeing these strings contained within our database URL string in the Flask source code. Let me show you that MySQL image on Docker Hub quickly. In case you've never heard of it, Docker Hub is like GitHub, but instead of being a source code repository, it's a Docker image repository. We can push custom images up and pull other people's images down. MySQL is very popular with more than 10 million pulls. We can pull a variety of versions, but as we saw in the Docker Compose file, we are sticking with the latest. Scrolling a bit more, we can see clear instructions on how to use this image. You'll want to read the docs before using any image, but we won't do that here. Let's get back to the shell. After all that, let's use Docker Compose up --build to rebuild our Flask container and run the whole app. There's lots of logging here, but we can see color coding for the two different containers. Let's open a browser and test some accounts. Let's try account 100, which is a valid account, and we know it should have a balance of $40. Okay, looks great. How about we try an invalid account like Nick123, which definitely isn't in the database? Okay, invalid account as expected. Let's check the application logs next. For our first query, we connect to the database first, then display our balance, then disconnect from the database. Our second query works the same way, with a different connect and disconnect process occurring. Working with databases can be tricky and take some practice, but I hope you've seen what it takes to start transitioning a monolithic app into a microservices app.